Welcome to FAILSAFE-ERA's Stories from the Other Side, where we take a deep dive into real stories, powerful conversations, and the critical importance of second chances. Here's a reality check. Over 90% of people currently incarcerated are coming home. The question is, what are you doing about it? Join us as we challenge perceptions, as we spark dialogue, as we inspire action. Because at FAILSAFE-ERA, everyone deserves a second chance and the opportunity to rewrite their story. And it starts with us. Hello, and welcome to Stories from the Other Side podcast. I am Juanita Shanks, CEO and founder of FAILSAFE-ERA. I have here with me, joining me today, two of the finest in our area. Yes, Sergeant Stephen Curtis and Deputy Margarida Figueroa.
You got it.
I am so excited. At FAILSAFE-ERA, we work with families and individuals that have been impacted by incarceration. And so typically we have some of our clients here, some of our family members. But today we want to bring law enforcement in because it is all about the community. So today I want to start with asking you two to tell us, the community, our viewers, who you are. Why do you do what you do? What prompted you to go into law enforcement? And also, how has your view on criminal justice evolved throughout your career? That was a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
Can you remember all of that?
We'll try to.
Okay.
One through. No, we got it.
Who's
We're locked in.
first? Ladies
We'll
first.
go with Sergeant Curtis
Okay, Sergeant
first
Curtis.
because he's from Stafford County, and you're the sergeant. We're doing rank stuff right
We're in
now.
alphabetical order.
Oh, and viewers, this is going to be so much fun.
We're sorry in advance.
we are. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
So what led you to your career in law enforcement? What do you do in Stafford County? And also, how has your view of the criminal justice system evolved?
Yeah. Well, for me, first off, it's really great to be a part of this in the conversation because what me and Margarida do, and Sergeant James Carr with Red PD, who unfortunately couldn't be with us, but the three of us are the kind of the community outreach, we call it crime prevention, in our respective agencies and jurisdictions, and we try to collaborate and work together because the community is not just it's not just Spotsy,
right.
Fredericksburg, Stafford. If it happens in Stafford, it usually ends up finding its way into Spotsy and vice versa.
Sure does.
But yeah, so that for Stafford, I'm the community representative. Basically, if you've ever heard Neighborhood Watch,
Yes.
we have watch programs. Some have different ones, like we have a worship watch, a business watch, but we're in charge of those community programs, basically.
So what's the difference? What's Worship Watch?
So Worship Watch is, like if you know Neighborhood Watch, Worship Watch is the faith aspect. So we partner with not just our neighborhoods, but with our houses of worship. And then Business Watch is with our businesses because, again, like we were talking about, community is more than just, it's not just neighborhoods, not just the residents, it's the businesses, the retail businesses, the small mom and pop businesses. It's the houses of worship, getting to know our mosques, our temples, our churches, our synagogues,
That is wonderful.
getting them all to have a platform to be able to come in, and we do regular meetings. We put information out there to give them a platform to say, hey, as your law enforcement agency, what do you see? What are the problems you're seeing? How can we be more involved? How can we help solve things a little bit better? How can we partner together to kind of, safeguard the community and highlight issues, hopefully before they even become issues?
That's right. Prevent it all.
Yeah, and that's why we call it crime prevention.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement for about 12 years. I've been about 7 years with Stafford County. I did a little corrections. I was in the military as a military police officer. I got out of the military and did teaching. I taught middle school for 3 years and decided that that was really hard. So I joined law enforcement because
And that's not even hard. That's not harder, right?
any teachers who are watching and listening to this just know that there's an application
respect
for
you.
every law
I
enforcement
know.
because it's a 1-for-1.
Yes.
I can
absolutely.
understand that. Both are some very, very tough jobs.
Yeah, but no, joined with the sheriff's office, and again, it was always just stemmed out of a desire to just help people because I grew up. I'm originally from Georgia, and I grew up with the friendly neighborhood law enforcement officer, the one that would come into your neighborhood, and the kids would come out, the school buses, and that connected with me when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, I want to kind of do that. And
Can you get that here?
I do now. So I started in
I know you do.
starting patrol, you have to do the patrol. You have to get out here and learn the job. But especially now, like I said, being involved with Neighborhood Watch, I get to go into the neighborhoods, and it can be hard with the demands of the job, trying to find the time with so many neighborhoods. But yeah, being able to go to events and have kids run up to you and hug you versus running away from you.
Oh my goodness.
Literally, when I have kids that see me at, like, I've been to Chick-fil-A, I was at Panera the other day, and a kid at a school who, I see so many kids I didn't recognize. Their mom came over and was just like, hey, and they showed me a photo that we had taken at a Halloween trunk or treat. And said they wanted me to let you know that they remembered you. And I was like, that's exactly why. So
And that's what we want.
That's what I think everyone should want, and every agency should want.
Your goals.
Yeah, that's the goal, is that not just having us as the respective liaisons with our agencies to do it, but I think it should be the entire agency. I think every police officer, sheriff's deputy, even up to the federal level. I was like, I'm big on saying that, yes, you should be in the community and get to know the people you serve. But.
So was this your dream job?
No, my dream job was actually a graphic designer for games.
My goodness, how did you just switch over? Like, okay, let me help me understand.
Yeah.
But you still do a lot
We're
of
in the
that.
deep lore now.
Okay.
I still do a lot of IT. I grew up in technology. My dad was in IT. My brothers were in IT. I grew up in video games. I'm a resident millennial in my agency.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, I want to do game design, all this stuff.
So we know who to call on now.
There you go.
He's the one.
Yeah, and then I went into the military, and I started to see the civil service kind of side of things, and actually the people who needed help, and from the military, being able to actually help people. That landed on me, where I kind of felt like, as much as I like video games and all the computer stuff, I had a lot more fulfillment just internally from actually doing CPR on someone and saving that. When I did my first CPR on someone and they actually survived from it, at that point I was like, I have to do something in first responder work.
You never forget it.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't.
You never forget it.
I can't even imagine all that you all see and have to experience. Let's shift to Miss Deputy Marguerite.
Margarida, I joined. I have hold on, let me go back up. I have about a total of 9 years of law enforcement. Okay. I did some Dahlgren Police Department over there in Dahlgren, and then I switched over to Spotsylvania. And being in this role it's a fulfillment, because when I was growing up in New York and Manhattan, Bronx area, we didn't have that role model around. And if you ever did see a cop around, it would be because you're in trouble. Because you're in trouble because somebody did something and you wanted to be as far as you can from that. So joining the Marine Corps took me out of the city. Being in the Marines brought me to helping people, not only in America, but out in the other countries. Countries that you can see are really in poverty, that they don't know when their next meal is going to be and stuff. And I decided after I started my family that I wanted to continue. So being in law enforcement and being in this role as community relations and crime prevention in Spotsylvania County, we are able to reach certain people that we never could probably reach before. So we're very lucky that we have a big communication with the patrol deputies. If they see something and they know something's going on and they need a little bit of extra more help, they send it our way. So I absolutely love that. Working with Curtis and James with Fredericksburg PD, we have that camaraderie to play with each other, saying, who's big, who's bigger than who's taller or who's shorter, and these two are crazy, but it's great.
You fail on
I'm vertically challenged.
We did say at our most recent Triad Senior Expo, a resource event for seniors. That she had to make the announcements, and me and James were like, we can just put you on our shoulders.
Oh, aren't they terrible?
That's not
just
nice.
Terrible. Just
I
terrible.
thought we were doing a service.
But you know what? It's great. It brings
though.
the people to know that we're human.
Yeah.
Our residents and our audience know that we're human beings and that we're here to help them out. So it's just about the core is just love to help people.
I absolutely love how you all come together, even though we're Planning District 16 and 5 areas.
Yes.
The 3 of you all are coming together, and it is wonderful. I
We
think
have
it's
to.
great. I know I'm saying this on camera, but I don't like the separation.
No.
I just don't. I don't like this. I think we just need to be one. We're not that big.
Yeah.
You cross the street, you're in Fredericksburg. You cross the street over here, you are in Spotsy. So I just love that you all have already come together as a family. And so I'm sitting in the middle between Marine and
Air Force.
Air
Good
Force.
goodness.
And I'm Army.
We've already had.
Oh,
that.
she,
Oh, there we
oh
go.
my
Army.
gosh.
Now we just need Coast Guard,
I
and
know,
Navy,
and
and
We've got
Space
it
Force.
all.
We're good.
No, we're dangerous. Okay, so how has your views on the criminal justice system evolved throughout your years in law enforcement?
Can I? I see that there's a lot of changes with the laws that have changes and the laws and the culture and everything mixed together. We can't be a blind eye. So we are very much involved in seeing what we have right there and attacking it as it comes, trying to prevent it from getting bigger. We try to keep the fire down. If we were to talk about like a campfire, it's all about trying to keep the flames down. And sometimes some of it reaches out. So the involvement is a different way that I know in Spotsylvania, we do community policing. We make sure that we are very transparent with things, so the community knows.
Yeah.
So if and anyone can get that information at the sheriff's office, I'm sure with you too. But we are every person that we stop, every person that we talk to, we have to write everything down. So I love that. We didn't have that before when I first started.
Good,
I mean,
wonderful.
You look
That's
back even
wonderful.
10 years ago, and that wasn't really a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. That wasn't as big a thing as it is now, where it's, and a lot of people don't know that they can actually request that information to see. But even like Citizens Police Academies, like getting more people involved in understanding law enforcement, because I mean, as it's evolved in my mind with the criminal justice system, it's if you're not knowledgeable about it and you're not keeping track of everything, you don't know how the system is working, how it's changing. That's the hardest thing. Like I said, if you kind of blind eye to how it's progressing or how it's going, you got to keep yourself informed.
I think it's crucial, Curtis, that we are informed. Sometimes I don't know things, or Curtis knows things, and I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. And it's like, when two females are tattling or they're like talking on the side, but it's like him and I about realistic things. Are you serious?
But how do you keep the community informed?
In Spotsylvania, we have a neighborhood watch, and we're very transparent online with our social media. But we have our neighborhood watch that's for the entire community. What about you guys?
We do like Coffee with a Cop. We do events where we actually go out and citizens can just come and ask us literally any question they want.
So how would the community know this?
Typically social media. Not everyone wants to follow law enforcement agencies.
No.
I promise you that if you
that.
like and follow a law enforcement agency's Facebook, it's not going to put you on a list or anything. But
At least not until we need you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But it's really about you have to. It's an active outreach. We put out a lot of information through newsletters, Facebook posts, social media posts, flyer, like out in the community, actually sending information out. But there's a lot of people that don't hear about it. There's a lot of people that don't know about these. They'll hear, it's like, oh, what's National Night Out? I never heard of that. And I was like, oh, it's one of the largest events usually in our respective counties. But people still don't know about it until they've ran into or encountered it. So we found that the best way is that if people want to know about these things, it's, hey, reach out to, like you would with anything, find the social media, find where the information posts are out, sign up for newsletters. We're a part of a SHIELD network, a global SHIELD network that a lot of law enforcement agencies are a part of, that share information across the nation and send it out to our residents and our citizens. And but you have to sign up to get that.
You guys, this is great. We know that most people you see law enforcement, it's not always it's not always positive, right?
Right.
And so, but what I love about you two, James Carr's not here, but what I can say about you two is you have always been so welcoming. And you have always been so positive. You have always been always, in my opinion anyway, community oriented. You are always willing to help. You're always willing to be there.
You're going to get me choked up.
Oh. That's the truth.
Yeah.
It really is true. And that is so important. And I'm saying that, and the work that we do.
Yes.
In FAILSAFE, we work with individuals that have been impacted by incarceration.
Right.
And so, maybe not the most, I don't know if you would say match up together, whatever, however you want to call it. But our clients, I mean, they're like me, like us. We love you guys. And I'm not going to say everybody.
Right, right.
But you all are great. You're supportive of the work that we do in FAILSAFE. And so I just want to say thank you for
Aw,
that.
thank you. I
you
appreciate
very,
that.
very much for that. So let's turn up the heat a little bit, okay? So I
like
had
it.
to butter it up before I turn up the heat a
Oh,
little bit.
goodness
No, I'm
gracious.
just kidding. I meant every word I said. So I want to just kind of talk a little bit about some systemic issues. That's a trick word, systemic.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Mass incarceration. In your experience, what role does law enforcement, you believe, play in mass incarceration?
You want to take turns?
Yeah, we're just sharing input as we go. I feel like it's a tricky question because it's when you talk about like law enforcement as a whole,
Yes.
or like local law enforcement, and it's tricky because there's different aspects to as far as mass incarceration. We work very closely, or we try to work very closely with our CAs, our Commonwealth attorneys. A misconception is that when you get arrested, that like we're the ones that are determining if you're going to jail or not. There's been many times that I have arrested someone, gone before a magistrate, and they've said, yeah, no, we don't think there's enough, here for that. And, I've driven them right back home. But when it comes to like mass incarceration, I think a lot of people think that like, especially local law enforcement at like deputy and police officer level, that we're out here making these decisions. And I wish I made enough money like a judge makes and had that kind of authority and power. That'd be interesting, but we don't. So, I mean, I think a part of that is that I kind of wish that the local law enforcement level had more of an impact or more of a say, I think, with law regulations and all that. Trust me, we've had legal updates in our agencies
Oh my gosh.
that we've rolled our eyes at and be like, is that really where that's going?
Or even finding out why they've changed.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's something that I like, people listening to know is that if you've ever rolled your eyes because you've seen like a new law or a change in a law, we've probably rolled our eyes a couple times too.
That's right.
But we still have to enforce those laws, and that's where it's kind of like the hard part is that we have domestics in Virginia, and in Virginia, if there's a domestic, someone has to be arrested. You shall arrest, which means I have arrested someone that I was like, I know that you had the best intentions, but I have to do by the letter of law this thing, and that's where it comes into play that. When it comes to mass incarcerations, I don't feel that local law enforcement really has as much of an impact as I feel and I think that we maybe should. The legal process of how laws are made change, from the state level to the country level. It's we're not much into the politics. I know our sheriffs are elected officials, but from the baseline level, the ground, the ones who are actually out here doing traffic stops, enforcing laws. Our main goal every day when you hit the road on patrol is just trying to keep people safe, keep yourself safe. You're not really like focused too much on like, oh, what can I do to write my congressman a letter about this law change? We're trying to adjust with the laws that are being made in a way that is going to, be the best interest of our respective communities, our respective citizens. But as far as the mass incarceration, like I said, I don't think. For me, I feel like we have as direct an impact as people, I think, believe that we do.
I'm glad you're saying what you say because I know I have never thought about it that way in that you don't write the law.
No.
You are there to enforce the law, but there are rules that sometimes people may break. Now, of course, we have we have occasional profiling.
Correct.
That we can't dismiss that. We have the occasional profiling, but like you said, sometimes you have to arrest somebody, and you might not want to, but it is a law.
Yeah.
And then you go before the magistrate, and I see so many things on social media. You do what you're supposed to do, and you go before the magistrate, and they're released. And some should be, some should not be, right?
Correct.
So, what do you say about mass incarceration, Deputy Marguerite?
We're both on the same line especially when we see the different things that we have to adjust to on the road as the patrol deputy, and that's like the baseline. The ones that go out and they're pulling people over, or there's an assault, or something at the ball field or something like that. Something very simple, and we have to let them know what what can happen at this point. Being able to educate our public is one of the most important things, so they understand that we have this training, we have we carry our badge, we carry our weapon, and whatnot. However, there is information that you need to know, so that so you can have the law. Just because a law goes up for us, or law changes for us, it doesn't mean that you should not listen to it as well.
Absolutely.
So it is just as important as what Curtis said. We need to. We don't want to put somebody in jail. We don't want. The worst thing to do is to pick somebody up at their worst time of their life, and then we're going to make a decision and take them to jail. That's the worst thing, I think, for law enforcement. At least for me, I never really liked it. I mean, I'm out there for a reason, especially like a DUI. You see a DUI, that is a misdemeanor, but you see somebody out there and they can kill you.
Yeah.
They could kill my daughter.
Yeah.
Anybody's
They
family.
have to enforce the law. It's what we say, even in FAILSAFE. We don't condone criminal activities, but we're here when they come home.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they have what they need, the resources, so that they don't go back into the system.
Yeah. I think that we've seen also, and a lot of people don't realize this, that not only do we see and obviously engage with those who are, like DUIs, we've seen the ones, and obviously, we do the sobriety test and we determine if there's an arrest or not. We're also the ones that are pulling victims out of DUI crashes when someone crashes into them. We're the ones that are telling family members your son or daughter isn't coming home because of a DUI crash. So if you feel like, someone's being a little too, strict on maybe like a traffic stop or something like that, is that we see both sides of it. We see the ones that caused the DUI crash, and we see the ones that are the victims, and then we have to go, unfortunately, tell families about it. But I'll say, kind of piggybacking off what Margarita said, is that I tell a lot of people, I was like, we have the one job that if the world was perfect, that we'd be fired.
Yeah.
It's the one job you want to be fired from.
Yes, yes,
I would
yes.
love to be fired from my job because the 911 dispatch center was silent, that no one had a need to call us.
I get it. Believe me, that was one of my board members says this all the time. Our goal, nonprofits should be in the business of putting themselves out of business.
Exactly. Yes.
Now,
exactly.
I would love to be out of business.
Yep.
Yes.
But unfortunately, like you all, I don't think we are in fields where we're going to be out of business. And so for that reason, how do we fix it? What can we possibly think about? We can pull all of our brains together to do to reduce the numbers of people that are being incarcerated?
You know what? I feel that is an ongoing question. I think we talked about it yesterday.
I was going to say, do we have like the next 5 hours to
Oh
try and
my
answer
God.
that?
Maybe, next 10. I just wish I can do the old school way that my mom would be right in front of me to say, Margarita, what are you doing? And throw a slipper at me, because that's what we do. They throw chancletas at you, Spanish moms. But I'm just saying that if we can, but there is positive ones. I have had people say, do you remember me? Like in the middle of a store, and I'm like, what do you, no, I'm sorry. And they're like, you arrested me twice
Oh my gosh.
for
Yes.
DUI.
Yes.
And, I was a train wreck, and because of you, my life is completely changed.
See?
And those are great stories.
Yeah.
So how to stop it?
I know. I went to the jail, right? We do training. I tell those. I meet with the ladies, and when I was meeting with the men, at one point I'll meet with any of them. But I used to say, put the guys out of business. Guys, stop coming back.
Yeah.
Stop. Let's stop. But there are so many reasons why people commit crime. Some of it is trauma. That has happened. Some people are doing this because they just never learned better. And so there's so much involved in it that I know I know when I ask you, how can we stop it? I know there's no real answer for it, but I still want to try.
Well, I think that seeing, again, from our job of being in the community, a lot of our deputies actually don't know a lot of the community resources, things out there that we get to learn about. And that's something that's really kind of lifted me up in the sense that the hardest part of law enforcement, I feel like one of the hardest parts is that you're talking about how, we're so friendly and it's hard to stay this upbeat and positive
Yeah.
because of all the negativity we consume.
Yeah.
No one calls 911 because it's my quinceanera and I want you to come and be a part of it. They call because it's the worst day of their life.
We'll call every 5th of the month.
Yeah, but they
15th
call,
of the month.
they call because it's the worst day of their life
Yeah.
or the worst day that they've caused someone to have.
Yep.
And when you eat all that negativity, it can make you very cynical. And that's when you start to lose, you start to have that disconnect. So if you've ever had a bad interaction with law enforcement, like if I pull you over, we're practically hugging at the end of it.
That is so true.
Well, I've
true.
had more of those conversations like you've had where like in the back of my cruiser, like opening the side door and be like, how did we end up getting here on our way to jail?
That's right.
And we'll have an 8-minute conversation of going like, and literally learning about this person's family, their mental history,
Yeah.
and you learn so much. But if you let that cynicism get to you, you start to stop viewing people as people.
Humans.
And there's the flip side of it too, where I have, people will judge us just like, oh, what do you do? Law enforcement. And immediately that
That's it.
door in their heart is shut.
Well, I did this
Before I can even crack a joke and try to lighten them.
Yeah.
But and that's where I feel like as a society, when it's talking about how can we help those, the biggest thing to help is honestly increasing the minimum wage, getting more services out here, reducing the housing crisis we're in. Like,
oh my goodness.
But those are all things that obviously at our level we can't really jump in and fix right away. But it's getting out of the silos that we're all in. I think COVID did a lot of this. After COVID, people stopped like, oh, you need to stay 6. That 6 foot rule was supposed to just be during that time, but now we have this emotional 6 foot rule where
That
like
wall.
and I see that in the community. I see it in our places of worship. I see it in law enforcement in the community. I see it in the community with themselves.
Neighborhood
I see it in
watches, yeah.
law enforcement and first responders with ourselves.
Yes.
And it's that we're so quick now to just push others away. There's been this really big divide in compassion.
I know.
I feel like where and again, it's not just law enforcement citizens. It's
Isn't it?
people working in McDonald's, like people working at grocery stores. It's our people working construction out here. It's our people building our houses. There's so many.
It's around us everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's
yeah.
like we've lost the sense of community.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is that you don't have that a lot anymore. You didn't, even looking at parents like. When growing up, I'd run out of my house and, hey, come back before the sun goes down.
right.
Yes.
And now we don't let our.
The street lights
That's
come
right.
on,
exactly.
That's right.
But
I don't care
now-
where you are, but just be home by the time
And you
the
would be
street
there.
lights-
You would be there.
But now it's we don't let our kids out of the house or you like no, you need to come and like don't talk to them and
Well,
I'm
you
all
know
about
what?
stranger danger.
I'm a
but-
little guilty because if I can keep mine in a bubble,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I get it. I get it.
Bubble.
But it's so true. Like I'll make sure that I'll just say, "How are you doing today?" And they don't respond, and I'm like, "How are you doing today?" "Oh, I didn't know you were talking to me. I thought you were on the phone." No,
Yeah.
things in my ears. I'm talking to you. Just
Yeah.
let's be human. Just remember, I'm a human person too.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
even that personal connection, like most it's online now. Usually you're engaging online
Yep.
and
People don't
through
talk to people
technology.
anymore.
Yeah, and it's if someone said, "How are you?" to me in line, like I'd be like, I'd be the same way. Like, are you talking to me? Are we having?
And that's
Are we having a
probably
conversation?
Why, and it's probably why when we do get together, we just start talking, and we
It
just
is.
lose
Yeah,
track
we
of
do.
time.
Yeah, we do.
We just want to talk and talk and talk because
Yeah.
people don't do that anymore. Here's my question for you now, Sergeant Curtis. You are a chaplain.
I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, do you often, when you do have to arrest someone, have you ever had to like go into prayer mode with them?
Yeah. No. So when I was on patrol, I wasn't a chaplain then, but I was very spiritual. And it's not something in law enforcement we have to stay very unbiased. We can't
Yes,
really.
I know that.
If
I
you're an effective
understand
law
that.
enforcement, you're not really sharing your opinion. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what we have to do. However, when someone opens that door,
I got it.
then you can have a conversation. So I called it the sliding glass door because you have the little sliding door in your cruisers, and some keep it shut. But I always kept mine open. And when someone has kind of led to a spiritual side, it's an avenue to connect with them. And I've had at the magistrate's office, basically booking them in. Come to Jesus moment for my respective religion for that of hey, can I pray about you tonight? And because they've already acknowledged that's and I've had more again like hugs and fist bumps and just like Sergeant Deputy Curtis. There's like Deputy Curtis, you all right?
Yeah.
Just because I said that I would like pray for them.
Yeah.
Because again, once they're booked, it's up to the attorneys and the lawyers and the judge to determine what comes from it. But at that point, like I hope, and I was like, I genuinely hope that like it's whatever comes from this is light reduced and it's eye opening.
Human side of you, they
Yeah.
get that human side, and that's what they need to see, you know. And I don't know how you make people understand that you are humans also.
It is very
It's
hard.
difficult. It's difficult. It definitely is difficult.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it's also difficult because we have to be so unbiased. So that's where I say that, like, if you are in interaction with law enforcement, you know, talk to them. You don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be all like you can talk, and some might not be amenable to it. But like I said, I can't have that spiritual conversation unless that door has been open. So if someone's just in handcuffs and not wanting to talk and just like I can't involve myself into opening that door. But as soon as they're like, oh yeah, I don't, you know, and they open that door, it opens up that. And again, it's the when someone's being arrested and put in jail, a lot of times, some expect it, but more often than not, they're like, I lost, I don't know what happened. Me and her were fighting. Him and I were fighting. It got out of control. I don't even know how I ended up here. I don't know. I'm in handcuffs. How did this happen?
Yeah.
And it's in those moments when they are like hopeless that, and it doesn't have to be a spiritual thing. I've had deputies that just did like a shoulder squeeze or just like, hey, like you're going to get through this. It's going to be rough. You got to deal with the consequences. But as long as you deal with it, you deal with the responsibility of it, and you get through it, you know, you'll be able to get through it. That little bit of just human, just compassion, like I mentioned earlier, has had the interactions, like she said, where you're at a Walmart with your family, and someone's like, hey, do you remember me? You arrested me. And I finally, you know, I found a way through. I got everything figured out. I'm, you know, getting counseling.
I'm going to the church you recommended.
Yeah.
That makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
We
Oh,
run
that's what it's
into
all
that
about,
a lot
yeah.
of times.
Yeah.
I remember running into people at Walmart. You used to come into the jail and talk to us, and I
good.
remember you. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so it really makes you feel really good to know that you've impacted somebody's life in a positive way. So let's talk about how do you think policing impacts marginalized communities, especially the communities of color? We have to have that conversation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel like it impacts communities of color?
Well, there's that wall that we can't break. I feel that there's certain walls that we're not breaking with our Latin communities. Our Latin communities and some of our Black communities are very restricted, but I see the same thing with the white community.
Okay.
But if you were to break it down like that, I know that if I'm going to a Latin place, I'm going to make sure that I'm not dressed in uniform. I make sure that I'm just like them, so they know we're alike. We're here for each other, and we have a lot of similarities. So that wall is there.
It is.
It is there.
How do we break it?
How do we break it?
That's another one of those. How do we cut
I
incarceration? right?
dance.
I
You
do see you dance. He
I do
does dance.
I don't dance.
You have danced.
I
though.
do an action that some would call dancing
And that helps.
in the worst way possible.
But it brings people.
Yeah.
Really?
So one of the big things is, and this is from the worship side, the worship watch that I coordinate, is, you know, you look at the faith community and how you have predominantly white churches, predominantly Hispanic churches, predominantly Korean churches, predominantly Black churches. Being a 6'4", lanky, uncoordinated white law enforcement agent,
Wow.
and going to with my one of my favorite people, but going to her church and being able, and she's the worship choir director, and you know she's got rhythm, she's able to sing, dance, do the whole thing. Miss Redeemer Rock, if she's watching.
Oh yes, we got Miss Redeemer.
Yes, Redeemer's my favorite. But I get up there and I do my best interpretation of rhythm, which I don't have. My wife will tell you. But I do. I get up and I get involved. And I've had more people remember me just going like, just because of the, like, is that a tall white cop singing and dancing like old gospel
Big
praise
Bird.
music? But I love that because I tell people is like if you really want to really learn about that marginalized area, or you know, an area that you're not familiar with, I was like, you need to get out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And so that's the best impact that I've been able to make, where I've had people that normally even said to me, like, I would never have ever come up and talked to you ever in my life.
Right.
Wow.
But you embarrassing yourself up there dancing horribly
Gave me
I
that
was like-
opportunity.
and it's like, you know, it kind of has that what's going on? Is this reality factor?
Yeah.
Now that's great for law enforcement, but that's just like me doing that. Not every law enforcement's going to do it.
No, so we've got to figure out another way to do that. I remember I had a boss who said this to me. He attended a funeral of one of my coworkers, and it was she was a black female, and he was a white guy, and he said when he came back to the office, "Wow, you guys know how to party at a funeral." I was like, but
That's how we do it too.
Yeah, you know. So the dancing is working apparently, but it's just about praising. Really, I wouldn't say partying, but it's about praising. But I agree. If you want to break those barriers, you're gonna have to find a way to fit. I hate to say fit in.
It is. It's almost like you fitting in because I'll change my uniform or I'll just be regular. You know, he has to wear that uniform, but I'm allowed to wear this kind of uniform, dress down, my hair down and stuff. But at the same time, it's barriers that we're just breaking up. It's that stigma.
Yeah. And that's really,
We gotta fix this.
Well, even our National Night Out events that we do, really big community events and the different outreach and groups that like nonprofits do in underserved neighborhoods. Because this is the other thing is like, you know, we talk about like our different communities, like our Hispanic communities, Latino communities, you know, and those ones I was like, it's not really, for me, it's not really the racial makeup. It's it's my issue with, you know, the low pay wages and everything. It's a poverty issue. If you look at our crimes and the people that are usually the ones that repeat crimes, it's usually coming from a broken or impoverished household.
Yep.
It's usually just like there's not enough resources, there's not enough options. You have the mental health aspect, and it's an issue that sometimes is generational. It's literally, you know, growing up with a single mom, 5 kids, mom works 3 jobs.
Yep.
The only thing I could do was hang out in my neighborhood with this, you know, bad crowd, and then just the cycle keeps
Get
going.
mixed up in it.
But do you all do any training? You know, in your area, you know, in
We
your
have something
areas that-
in the sheriff's office. We do. We have the cadet program. Stafford County has a great cadet program. So that's one way that we try to reach out. But it's still.
So the word I wanted to use, I probably can't use, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's called DEI training.
Oh, I don't think we have DEI.
So
training.
we don't have really DEI training. We know the concept, but for us that would be closer attributed to our CIT.
Yes.
Crisis intervention training.
Yes.
So CIT training, and it's been a big push in law enforcement. So it's something I'm very proud of because I'm very passionate about CIT. But
well, why don't you say what CIT stands for?
Sorry, crisis intervention training.
There you go.
Which is basically training law enforcement officers on how to handle situations from a mental health or a emotional behavioral aspect.
Right.
Basically, a very big emphasis on de-escalation, which I know has been in the news about. We need to de-escalate. We need them to stop using weapons, start using their mouths and stuff.
Right.
That is happening. We didn't have to be a requirement. I believe 3 years ago in our agency, it was a requirement that every law enforcement agency, sworn deputy, had to go through CIT training. You had to go through the course and get it done. Some specialize in it. I'm getting ready to try to be an instructor for it, but it focuses on, you need to know the social aspect. You need to know the cultural aspect. One thing that we are very fortunate in Stafford is that our chaplains program, we have an imam. So we have a imam is a Middle Eastern, usually a Muslim or Islamic faith leader. It's like the same thing as a pastor or a priest in the Muslim faith. And he's done and being able to come and done cultural diversity training with us to teach us about, hey, if you're on a traffic stop and there's a woman who's wearing a hijab and we have a female deputy, if you try to do a search of it, the husband might get very, very aggressive and might do a situation where he might try to intervene. And in case that's, but if you get a female to come do it, it's because it's a cultural thing. So trying to educate that and make the mental health aspect, anyone that has severe autism or a mental cognitive disorder, we have a lot of case law on people that have low blood sugar issues. That's a huge case law that we have that is our use of force with. But all those things, it's not really DEI, but DEI is a part kind of it. But just that training and education on our end to really focus on, hey, you need to look at the lens, not just with this law is broken, we need to act this way, but also what steps can we take, again, to not make it escalate? Because our involvement's always going to be an escalating factor. Yeah. If the police show up, typically, again, something's going on in your area that tensions are high. But, how can we navigate that better, taking in cultural, mental, emotional, behavioral, systemic issues, and even just the perception of us in law enforcement. You know, her coming in with how she's able to dress versus me coming in with this. Like she said, when she's allowed to come out in that appearance, that plays a part into it. Just how you dress plays a part in how people react.
So that's a very good segue into what a lot of people say. You look at, you can't judge a person by the way they look.
Right.
But many people, when we're thinking about the communities of color, especially, they are judged by the hair. In some cases, the dress, tattoos, and everybody has the tattoos. But how, have you, in your experience, your time in law enforcement, ever, I know you have never done it, but maybe you've had a partner or you've seen it, experience profiling? And how would you handle that? How did you handle it?
Well, I've seen some profiling. I worked midnights for a very long time. And you do see it. If you hang out in this area, that's probably going to be where a lot more problems are. The guys are going to be out there, the drug dealers or the bangers or whatever. But
hotels near 95.
You see that. So what and how I approached it was I was on foot. I was on foot and break that barrier down. So not only am I the first one taking the step, I would be out there and just talk to him and just start a rapport and build something off of that and try to escalate that with coworkers. Come meet me here, or let's go do this, or let's go do that. Let's do it together with the party, so they can see that they are a person as well. And then we find out why they're going through what they're going through, or why they're in the position they're in, or if they're not even in a position. I'm a mom. I don't like hair up in your face, so I'm always like, "Why is your hair down?" Or "Why you got all these beautiful curls? What did you do with that?" Or whatever the case may be.
But people are judged.
They are,
right.
For me, it was always, and something that we try to do with our community policing is that it's kind of again, it's that two sides of one coin, the same coin.
Right.
Because again, the reflection is that we get judged just because we're stepping out of a police cruiser. And, I might be in a neighborhood literally for like a kid event, like playing soccer with the kids. But they're like, oh, why is he getting out like that? But I've tried when I've gone out into areas that I know, like the motels and the hotels near 95, in advance, talking to the hotel owners or the managers and being like, hey, we've seen obviously we're getting a lot of reports of drug activity, of, assaults and a lot of things coming in this area, streaking, flashing, all these things. We're seeing a big increase in this. We're going to plan to come out more often because we're seeing that, and letting them know that versus just seeing a police car cruise by and be like, oh, they're looking for people to lock up.
Maybe we can prevent some of it.
Well, just letting them know and letting neighborhoods know this is why we're in your neighborhood, because we've seen an increase via statistics. Because every law enforcement agency has crime analysts, and we use that, and that's the kind of big difference. A lot of people view profiling in law enforcement, I think, as like, oh, the police are just looking, midnights on a traffic stop because of my, how I look. I'm going to tell everyone right now, I work midnights too. I didn't know who the driver was because all I see is a headrest.
That's right.
Until I'm literally up on the window because it's 2 a.m. I dare you to drive behind someone at night and say, who? Judge that and this is the person for that.
That is a Spanish person back there. There's
no
way.
It's a headrest. But I say that to say that, like, that's a big push is that we use crime analytics. And that's a part of that transparency we talked about is not a lot of people ask law enforcement for crime analytics.
But they can get it.
Yeah, but I'll go into a neighborhood and say, hey, I'll tell the HOA, we're coming to your neighborhood because we have a 13% increase in vehicle breaks-in and larcenies. And the statistics is showing that it is a, African-American, a Caucasian, Asian-American male, approximately 26 years old, that, from the reports that we've had arrests or things like that has been done, or priors. The biggest thing in law enforcement we go off of is priors. We go off of prior history. So if we have a hotel or a restaurant that's getting broken into, or a 7-Eleven that's getting shoplifted, and we look through the priors and we see certain statistics that are the more ones from the either apprehensions or the information that the employees or citizens are giving us, like, oh, I saw this and this person, which you got to take with a grain of salt because a lot of people get it wrong when they tell you what the witness looks like.
Even when we witness, when we go through the camera footages, just like he said, we have a lot of similarities that we do. Like I said, it bleeds over the counties. So when we see stuff like that, that's the reason why. Somebody will say, you're profiling me because I look like this or whatever. No.
So it's the prior, like you said, it is the
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, the first thing we do on a call, if we're going to a call, almost the immediate first thing that we teach our deputies, I'm sure same with you, is look at the priors.
Yeah.
See what has happened in the past and then build your understanding off that. So if a 7-Eleven gets broken into and I see 3 priors in the last 3 months that had 2 juveniles that did it, well, when I get on scene and I see 8 people scattering and I see 2 juveniles, I'm probably going to focus my attention on the juveniles. It's not because I'm profiling these young men or women. It's because I'm going off of the priors. And that's how, if you're doing law enforcement correctly, you're going off the information and the facts to make the best decision you can to establish the safety and security, prevent a crime from either happening or the ones that committed it being held accountable for it. But that can look like profiling. And I'm not saying that profiling does not happen. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you're doing law enforcement correctly, you're still going to have the perception of profiling. It's just, for me, it's an integrity issue. Are you actually going off of the, are you actually going off the, I was told not to do that, but are you going off of the facts that you are given to make a determination? Or are you being lazy and you're just going off of your instinct?
Yeah.
And that's the fine line. I feel like it looks similar, but I was like, one is coming from a better, more intentional, more honest place, and the other one is just, oh yeah, I it's always these same certain types of individuals or people, and then once you hit that level, that's when I'm like, you need to step out of law enforcement.
Yeah, because then it's going to always be your modus of operandi.
It can't be.
They're going to be this kind of person. They're going to be this color. They're going to look like that because this is what we've always seen.
Which
And we cannot do that.
Well, it's funny because it's also very similar to people who get caught up in the same things on the other side of it too, where okay, I'm just gonna take $3 from my employer on the cash drawer.
That's right.
And then, okay, well, now I'm going to take $6. And once you fall into that mentality, it builds a habit.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I tell people, I was like, law enforcement, us being people, the human side of it is a double-sided coin.
It is.
If we fall into negative behaviors in law enforcement, you get negative cops.
Yeah.
If you fall into negative habits as any job or employer, you might get an embezzlement charge, or you might get, you might get those same things. But and same thing with drug addictions. If you, I want to go with my boyfriend to a party. Okay, I don't want to be lame. I want to,
I'll try it one time.
And then it's so every aspect of not just law enforcement, but when it comes to like the profiling thing, it's if you step into that and you start doing it, it's a hard thing to reverse out of.
So how would I say, and I'm going to start wrapping this up, but how can law enforcement and our clients, returning citizens, work together to improve public safety?
Meet FAILSAFE and sign up, come to their meetings, come to their events, promote them.
Good answer.
Interaction. A lot of I enjoy, and I ask different agencies, let me come and talk to your folks that are in the program to get better. Please let me. And they're like, no, we don't want law enforcement there because it's going to make them feel that they can't talk openly. It is crucial because that can do great damage control.
I've heard that before. And have you ever had a conversation with some returning citizens?
Yes.
Last year at Germana at a FAILSAFE conference.
That's right.
I promise I'm not just plugging you because you're here. But I had a conversation with a young gentleman that was had a history of incarceration and the tattoos, everything, and I literally sat right next to him. It wasn't planned. I just sat right next to him.
You sat in between. You were in the.
I was actually in between. Too. But it's like Margaret said when she had 2 people approach her and say, "Oh, you arrested me twice," and some of the most rewarding conversations and the most feel-good moments is actually talking to returning citizens.
Yes.
That says, "Hey, like." I recognize what happened. I know, you ought to do your job. I'm not saying that I was happy that it went that way, but, here's where my life is now. Seeing someone's life get back on track and hit this point of like progress and recovering. I got wife and kids now. I got this great career. I'm public speaking.
Yep.
I love it.
And I'm helping somebody else.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I am a mentor now, and I'm doing this because you did this. And it's the most rewarding thing to get in our uniform to go out there again.
Wonderful.
If you are someone that has faced any kind of car, I don't care if it's a misdemeanor, I don't care if it's like a traffic stop, but you had an experience and you learned from it, grew from it, please be an advocate. Please
Yes.
be a force out here to, especially for our young men and women,
Our youth.
our
yeah.
youth. But here, I love it. I love anyone that does public speaking after being incarcerated to teach people, because not a lot of people listen to us.
Well, you're going to have to come to our gala.
Well, we have to come look at it.
Because we are going to have a person who is a former narcotics detective. And he's going to be our keynote speaker, and he's a returning citizen.
There, see?
Love it.
April 4th. But before we even talk about that,
I love that.
what I would like for you all to tell our viewers is what gives you hope for the future of the justice system?
What gives us hope?
Right?
You can hear the pen drop.
There's just so many. Okay, so there's so
There's
many
so many.
aspects to that. So for the justice system, what gives me hope is that people are speaking about it. Now,
They're not secretive about
yeah.
this. I'm sorry.
And let me just say this: when you
Sorry.
when you share this, I mean, really talk to the camera and let the camera know,
Which
you
camera?
know, what you want to say
That
to the
That one.
video. To
you're
the
that. I'm
viewers.
this one. This one.
See,
Trade,
we
trade.
knew this was going to be funny, guys.
All right. So
Because now you're talking to our viewers for real, not just me.
yeah. So what gives me hope with the criminal justice system is that we are in a day and a time and an age where people have a lot more of a voice than they used to. As while that can be a double-edged sword, and that voice can be used negatively, as we've seen on any Facebook comment on anything ever, or anything that gets political, anything like that, it can go the wrong way fast. However, there are so many platforms now to make your voice heard. If you feel like your specific area or your community or your neighborhood is being targeted or marginalized, you have a platform to be able to advocate and to really push that out there. And again, it can go a lot of different ways, but it gives me hope because people that don't think they're being heard, they really are. Like I can tell you from our agency, at least in Stafford, I can tell you that when we see what's being said out there, we genuinely look at it, we take it in, and we try to figure out how we can adjust and kind of go with it of trying to make these issues solved. But if you don't say anything, then nothing's ever going to change. But yeah, I feel like we're in a day and a time where people, even at the lowest levels of their situations in life, like you don't have to be a politician or some multi-millionaire or influential person. You can start a small thing and make your voice heard. And I think that's what's changing a lot of laws. I think a lot of laws right now are actually being changed because people are actually talking about it and actually saying, hey, we don't like this. So I feel like that's what gives me hope, is that while we are, I think, more segregated because of everyone in their own silos and kind of keeping a distance, the ones that are getting over that and actually coming together and going out in the community and saying, hey, this is how we feel about this. The ones that come to our Coffee with a Cop in Stafford and say, hey, I don't like how you all are doing this. I love that. Like, I don't know if that's a weird thing to love, but I love that. I love when someone says, I am over here, this is my neighborhood, I don't like how this is happening. And I'm like, I had no idea that was an issue. So yeah, I'd say that's what gives me the most hope, is that people have an opportunity to really use platforms to talk and make themselves heard.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Deputy Marguerite.
And it's this one, right? So I'm going to say that it's your voice. Use your voice. Use that voice that you have inside of you that's trying to get some words out and doesn't know how to get them out. Reach out to people. Just like Curtis said, reach out to people and let them know we want to know how we can effectively work with you, because that's the only way we're going to make change. I absolutely love hearing everybody's thoughts, everybody's ways to try to put things together, their projects, because we can't continue this world without you. So in Spotsylvania County, the same thing with him. When you see there's an event out there, and if you can't find the events, just call us directly and we'll give it to you. We'll send it to you, mail, email, text, whatever you want, a flag, a smoke thing, whatever you want, to let you know that we want to hear from you, because the sheriff's office in Spotsylvania does.
Awesome. Look, these guys are great. I just want to say to our viewers that I have truly enjoyed sitting with you, Deputy Marguerite, and you, Sergeant Curtis, sharing, talking about your perspective on law enforcement, our returning citizens, our clients. I will tell you, to our clients, to our viewers, there are good law enforcement officers out here. and I am sitting between two of them that I know of. It really works. And so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of FAILSAFE, on behalf of our clients, we thank you for what you're doing, and we thank you for making an impact and a difference in our communities. I also want to say thank you to Blue Stallion again for hosting us at our podcast on Stories from the Other Side. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Stories from the Other Side. Change does not happen by chance. It happens because we make it happen. Second chances aren't just about those coming home. They're about the future of our communities. Get involved, speak up, take action. Our communities are counting on it. Until the next time, be the difference. FAILSAFE-ERA Stories from the Other Side are sponsored by...
One of the things that keeps great leaders up at night is how to take a solid team and make them better. Well, we can help you figure all that out. Learn as a team, grow as a team, and have fun doing it. At Blue Stallion Solutions, we meet you where you're at and we take you where you want to go. Blue Stallion Solutions isn't just a company, it's a movement. Ride with us today.